Welcome to the Arate. We would like to remind the audience members that eating, drinking, smoking, flash photography, and the use of any recording and other electronic devices are strictly prohibited inside the theater. In case of an emergency, please remain calm, Our ushers and emergency personnel are trained to escort you out of the theater. Please take a moment to locate the emergency exits nearest to you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2020 of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. the administrators and faculty of the ASMPH. All please stand. The officials of the university. The President of the Ateneo de Manila University, the Philippine flag, and the flag of the Ateneo de Manila University. Please remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem. The Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. lupang hinirang, tuyang talang magiting, sa manlulubi. Kapasisiin, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bakaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdiningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pag may mga apit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for the invocation.
Let us be reminded of God's presence within us, among us, as we gather in thanksgiving in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Guide of weary travelers, take my hand as I wander through the unnamed wilderness in search of my truth. Companion of those who journey, assure me of your presence while I search aimlessly in the foggy land of I don't know. Source of wisdom and guidance, be the star that leads me. Shine truth onto my path. Bless me with direction. Wings of shelter, embrace me with your comfort when the road is lonely and life feels desolate. Wellspring of hope, my source of courage, my fountain of faith, when I teeter towards despair. Wind of spiritual liberation, enter and unleash any shackles that bind and restrict me on the path of true freedom. Heart of compassion, taste my tears, heal my old wounds, rest my pain in your love. Infuse power, dance in my bones, sing in my spirit, energize me. And through the intercession of our Blessed Mother, we pray. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen. You may all be seated. The commencement program will be formally opened by Dr. John Paul Vergara, former Vice President for the Professional Schools.
Friends, today on the 3rd of July, in the year of our Lord, 2022, on the 163rd year since the founding of the Ateneo de Manila University, before the Very Reverend Provincial of the Society of Jesus in the Philippines, the Chair and members of the Board of Trustees, the President of the University, before our guests, faculty, staff and administrators, alumni, parents, and friends. I formally open our academic program on the occasion of the 9th commencement exercises of the School of Medicine and Public Health of the Ateneo de Manila University.
Dr. Raimundo Baquiran, Associate Dean of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, will now introduce the valedictorian of the class of 2020.
The class valedictorian is the highest honor accorded by the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health to a member of the graduating class who has embodied, while still a student, the school's threefold qualities of the Ateneo doctor: an outstanding clinician with mastery of knowledge, skills, and compassion to care for the health of individuals and communities. A dynamic leader with the expertise to manage people, systems, resources. A social catalyst with competences to help address ill health, poverty, and inequity. The ASMPH valedictorian, therefore, is a graduate who is not only academically excellent, but also compassionate, systemic in thinking, with a profound sense of self and of others, and with a disposition for the service in the mold of our Ignatian tradition, ad majorem Dei gloriam. With much pleasure, it is my honor to introduce to all of you a young co-venturer in the journey of ASMPH, the valedictorian of the class of 2020, Dr. Chelsea Colleen Gatchalian Paris, Doctor of Medicine and Master in Business Administration.
President of the Ateneo de Manila University, Father Roberto Yap of the Society of Jesus, Vice President of the Ateneo Professional Schools, Dr. John Paul Vergara, Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health Dean, Dr. Zenon Alfonso, former Vice President John Paul Vergara, Ateneo Graduate School of Business Dean, Dr. Joet Cecilio Magsaysay, Officer in Charge, VP Maria Luz Vilches, former Vice President of the Philippines, Attorney Lenny Robredo, and to our commencement speaker, Attorney Shell Diokno, our dear faculty, ASMPH staff and administrators, our parents, guests, and fellow batchmates, both present here with us and over Zoom or YouTube, good afternoon. I am Chelsea Colleen Gatchalian Paris, a member of Batch 2020, honored to give this address on behalf of my class. In 2020, we completed medical school under unique and very uncertain circumstances. Who would have thought that we would be gathered here today? Despite all that has transpired, we are gathered here not just as graduates, but as young professionals. It has been 2 years since we have been urged to go down the hill, and since then, like branches from a tree, we have grown apart, but spread out wide and tall. We are now traversing different paths. Some of us, like myself, are now in residency, training to be future experts in our personally chosen fields. Some in public health, in primary care, in the Doctors of the Barrio program, in national government institutions, in local health units, working in the grassroots, the true front lines. Working out our health systems that we have learned in medical school to have deep and entangled problems and whose faults have become saturated in the light of the current health crisis. Some a few exams or a flight away to a training program or postgraduate studies abroad, some in research, general practice, and even some in the most sought out path, post-medical school, engaged or married with or without children. Thinking of this gives me a great sense of pride, batch 2020. Just short of 2 years since becoming fully fledged MDs, there is already so much we have accomplished. The batch has risen above despite a pandemic, despite feelings of being shortchanged and feeling cursed by the circumstances, despite our own personal trials and tribulations, despite all odds. As we were told early on in ASMPH, we were not trained just to be any typical doctor, but doctors who would be outstanding clinicians, dynamic leaders, and social catalysts. I remembered hearing this concept from Dean Dairit, and then later on Dean Alfonso, as well as many of our administrators and faculty during our year-level orientations. I'm sure I was not the only one who would feel very uneasy when I would hear those words. It felt like a challenge, and one that was daunting. Our teachers and mentors readily took up this challenge and aimed to share it with us. Yet it seemed difficult to get at their level. Through medical school, I would secretly ask myself if I ever would live up to this vision. Would I really be able to heal and transform lives? Despite the laws of physics that dictates us to take the path of least resistance and to fall into the temptation to shy away from these challenges and be jaded by the bigger picture and problems, I later realized that this challenge to be this brand of doctors was not simply bestowed upon us just because the school aimed for us to be a cut above the rest. It was simply reality put forth from the outset. ASMPH was readying us for what would have later become inevitable for us to face as future doctors. And it had become inevitable. That afternoon of March 2020, for me, I was status post a pediatrics small group discussion with Cluster 1. We all got pulled out from the clinics. Our medical education and lives were put on hold. And suddenly, doctors were in the forefront, the stars of the show. They filled the daily news broadcasts, took spotlight in government task force. And that happened right at the time when we were barely minted and unpolished medical doctors. The previous hypothetical daunting challenges, which required this brand of doctors who were cut out for these difficult times, was now a reality we needed to face. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. VUCA, as we learned it as a topic in a session in leadership class around second to third year of medical school. Many of us probably looked past it and just wanted to get over it then, until precipitously it became the theme of our lives. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We did not know if we were going to graduate or if we would be able to take the boards and become the doctors we sought out to be. Much worse, beyond medical school, we had family members and friends who got sick of a disease that at that time we did not know how to cure. The livelihoods of many families, friends, our Filipino brothers and sisters were cut. Our hospitals were overwhelmed. Doctors who were our teachers, friends, mentors, braved the start of the pandemic, putting their life at risk of the unknown. This was the climate we, my batchmates and I, graduated medical school with and first became doctors in. It was a time when the practice of medicine, of being a doctor, had vastly transformed. Being a doctor had become less glamorous. We were clad instead in level 4 personal protective equipment, covered in our own sweat and the blood of our fallen patients and the tears of the families they left behind. In exchange of the pristine white coat we all first donned before clerkship, at our Blue Lights event. Being a doctor became riskier. While we trained to treat our patients to health, in doing so, it became our own lives and the lives of our families on the lines. In fact, we lost many colleagues in this battle. Being a doctor became increasingly difficult as we were required to transfigure our practices to include use of telemedicine, to quickly revert our education to be continued and completed online. It challenged the world of medicine and spurred innovation quickly to find cure and prevention. And now that the vaccine race has led to the fall of the pandemic and the discovery of many new innovations, it challenged doctors to practice critically and evidence-based, considering that many of our treatments were novel and our resources were scarce. But it was also a time, and it is still a time, in medicine when despite the clamor, the fear, the uncertainty of the rest of the world, our community needed to stay well-rooted and strengthened. As we took the forefront of this battle, the pandemic brought to light many problems in the system where we work and exposed that the system is heavily interlinked with our economy, infrastructure, and governance. The problems in our healthcare system, which might have once been easy to avert our gaze and attention from, intensified and confronted us head to head. Again, despite all odds, we took the daunting challenge being doctors made for this time. Some people of my batch were some of the first to volunteer in COVID-related programs. We engaged in research, formulation of practice guidelines, volunteer organizations, as well as public health efforts even before we graduated. When resources were scarce, we made face shields from scratch and drove through checkpoints to hospitals and organizations. It was through late night meetings over Zoom with May, Ces, Tet, Zar, Janelle, and Drew, and with many other volunteers from the batch that we organized this effort, just like how we would previously organize Pugad Agila activities and drive around our board takers during our in-school years. Many of us fought to volunteers at the hospitals at that time, since we could not sit still, knowing we were trapped in our own homes while our seniors, our residents, our mentors were in the front lines. Although we were not permitted at that time, after boards and as soon as we were able to pass the board exams, many hopped into the workforce in local health units, COVID clinics, the Department of Health, and hospitals to fill in the gaps of the exhausted workforce without hesitation. Much like back in medical school, when we leaped into various organizations, CAIF, Public Health, Academics Council, AMDG, Axis, or Pugad Agila, sometimes doing more org work than actual medicine. This involvement was an easy choice, having been nurtured in an environment that was built on a community that prides itself in extending ourselves to others. Who would have thought we would make it here today, not as graduates, but as doctors already? As a member of Batch 2020, I can easily say that all of this is not surprising to me. We have been proven to be a class who is resilient and irrepressible. We celebrated after each exams and each major milestones with a party, paplos, Chuck's house, Pine's house, or lunch at City Golf Frankie's, RBC North Park, McDo, Jollibee. No matter the outcome, we would only sulk for a little while and trod onto the next module, the next Monday examination, with easygoing attitudes, despite all of us low-key grade conscious. We were also never competitive, unless in the setting of a contest during a module integration activity or in sports. I remember even once the administration described their batch to be a little too clingy. We bonded easily through our many collective struggles, teaching each other to pass an anatomy lab exam in first year, making it through half a day of micro and patho lab, our occasional battles with the admin and some of our faculties, as sometimes we were quite a stubborn group. Getting through the board season alone in our own homes, but seemingly together, almost daily over Zoom and Discord batch reviews. Many of us were willing to lend a helping hand, making sure that no Atenean was left behind and no 2020 was left behind. And even when some did fall back a few steps behind the pack, during removal season or even after the first board examination, lifelines would always stay open and intact. I can describe our batch with so many adjectives. We are compassionate, outgoing, emotional, and sentimental. Maybe rowdy at times, if you've seen us outside earlier before this event. But if I were to think of one word that would perfectly describe us, that helped get us to where we are today, it would be that we are full of love. Love that extends beyond inviting Jollibee to mascot our Feb 14, 2017 surprise to the boys in the batch, or a classroom full of heart balloons a year after that. Love in form of care of one another, caring for our patients and our families. Love in the form of disagreements, taking the path less traveled to serve the underserved. Love in the form of family, friends, or maybe ourselves. Love for this profession, this craft that pushes us to be better at it every single day. Love for this country that despite the political climate that does not always go our way, we continue to choose to serve. In difficult times, love may be the only thing that pushes us to be where we are at this moment in our lives. As Father Pedro Arupe said in his prayer, what you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. Fall in love, stay in love, it will decide everything. I hope this remains true. In whatever form of love it manifests in our lives, I hope in whatever decision we make for what will push us for love, I hope that in whatever decision we make or paths we should later take on, it may always be rooted in love, for it is what will push us to continue living, not only for ourselves, but for our families, our career, and most especially the Filipino people who will be needing our care. With that, I'd like to extend long overdue thank yous to all those who have made this journey possible for us. Our dear parents, this is yours as much as ours. For your support in all forms and understanding the sacrifices we had to sometimes make and to endure to practice this craft of medicine. Especially to my own parents, my siblings, Jillian and Boris, who inspire me every day to become a better doctor and who have kept my cup not just full but overflowing with love and support. This is for you. To our friends, including our upper and lower batchmates, Pugad Aguila, thank you for journeying with us. Especially my close friends, my forever seatmates, Tash and Carms. Hi, guys. To my co-residents at PGHIM, Janine, Patrick, and Noel, just last night we were in the emergency room and we were wondering if we would make it here awake. To my anatomy group, elect group, internship, CIT group, I am glad I have gotten to work with all of you, and you have made med school a breeze. I'm sure we all agree that ASMPH culture has lifted us up. On many of our bad days, it was small things like the random gift at the start of the school year, stampitas with quotes before the start of a module, candies and snacks after long exams. Another shout out as well to Dr. Kirk Plata. I'm sure you're here. On behalf of the batch, you have been the face and embodiment of Pugad Aguila. He extended his time and efforts wholeheartedly to us during the grueling board exam season, and we would not be here without you. To our teachers and mentors, you have inspired us and paved the way for our formation as doctors. We truly stand at the shoulders of giants who have come before us. We promise to continue to aspire, to follow and extend the paths you have created for us. To the administrators and staff of ASMPH who welcomed us with smiles into this community, guided us every single year painstakingly as we transition to every year level. And until this very moment, thank you for letting us have this physical graduation and painstakingly organizing today for us. Also to our patients who are our best teachers, who endured our skills practices during internship and clerkships, the hour-long interviews during while 5, 6, and 7, and to our patients now, who entrusts part of their lives to us. And of course to God, who continues to bless us each day with health, power, and wisdom to continue to serve and become instruments of His will. 2 years in 2020, we have already each grown so much. Like the branches of a well-rooted and nourished tree, we have grown apart but spread tall and wide, each looking for a place to continue to grow in the hopes of bearing fruit and harvest. It is in no doubt that in many ways, in the paths that we have chosen, we have started to transform into Atenean doctors we were molded to be. It is definitely not easy to be a doctor today. At a time of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. But I hope that each of us continues to take up the challenge of living up to this arduous task. With our resilience, our willingness to help, our togetherness, compassion, and with love. And with that, congratulations to Batch 2020. I'm so happy to see you all today. To infinity and beyond. Good afternoon to all.
Dr. Sinon Alfonso, Dean of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, will now introduce the commencement speaker.
Dean Jose Manuel I. Diokno is the founding dean of the De La Salle University College of Law and chair of the Free Legal Assistance Group, or FLAG. He has been practicing law for 30 years now and gained prominence as a human rights lawyer and litigator. The DLSU College of Law, which opened in 2010, is the first law school in the Philippines to highlight human rights and legal aid as part of its educational program. While the Free Legal Assistance Group, or FLAG, is the oldest organization of human rights lawyers in the Philippines, known for handling cases involving civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights.
Though already well known in legal and human rights circles, Dean Chell, as he is fondly called, gained wider public prominence when he ran on the platform of justice and judicial reform during the 2019 senatorial elections. He continues to speak at various events for numerous schools and organizations all over the country, with these speaking engagements serving as a venue for continuing his advocacy for justice, human rights, and empowering the youth. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Attorney Jose Manuel I. Chell Jokno.
Reverend Father Roberto Siap, S.J., President of the Ateneo de Manila University, Dr. Maria Luz Vilches, Vice President for the Ateneo Professional Schools, Dr. Zenon R. Alfonso, the Dean of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, Dr. Joet Cecilio F. Magsaysay, Dean of the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, Dr. Martin Graciano Raimundo S. Bakiran, Associate Dean of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, Mr. Ray Reyes, Registrar of the Ateneo Professional Schools, Dr. John Paul C. Vergara, former Vice President for the Ateneo Professional Schools, Dr. Roberto C. Tanchanco, our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Gaudencio S. Hernandez Jr., Ateneo Alumni Representative, Dr. Joseph Emmanuel P. Siatan, Class of 17 of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, Ms. Chelsea Colleen Gatchalian Paris, Class Valedictorian, Attorney Maria Leonor Herona Robredo, former Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, and the best public servant I have ever had the honor to work with. Members of the faculty, administrators, and staff of the Ateneo de Manila University, parents and relatives of the graduates of Batch 2020, and of course, the stars of today's event, the members of Batch 2020 of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. Isang napakagandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. At pivotal points in our history, you, the Filipino youth, have always stepped up for our country. Jose Rizal was only 23 years old when he started writing Noli Me Tangere, the novel that spoke the truth to power, the biggest superpower of his time, Spain. Rizal's niece, Delfina Herbosa y Rizal, was only 13 years old when she joined the Katipunan, one of the youngest and one of the first women to join the revolutionary movement. Delfina was not the only youth to fight for our freedom and independence. 3 centuries before her, the teenager Raja Sulaiman led one of the first revolts against Spain in what is now Navotas City. And in 1744, at the age of 20, Francisco Dagohoy led a revolt in Bohol that lasted for 85 years. The story of our youth continues throughout our history. In 1942, after the Japanese invaded the Philippines, PMA cadets who were considered too young to fight the Japanese soldiers formed a guerrilla unit known as the Hunters ROTC. Led by Miguel Ver, 24, and Eleuterio Adevoso, 20, the unit distinguished itself in battle throughout the entire Japanese occupation and saved the lives of many Filipinos. Many other young Filipinos fought and lost their lives against the foreign invaders. In 1975, at the height of the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos, Abraham Dito Sarmiento, 25, wrote an editorial in the Philippine Collegian that caught the ire of the regime. A month later, he was arrested and detained for over 7 months. Before he died at the age of 27, he wrote, "Kung di tayo kikibo, sino ang kikibo? Kung di tayo kikilos, sino ang kikilos? Kung hindi ngayon, kailan pa?" He was not alone. Archimedes Trajano, Liliosa Hilaw, Ishmael Quimpo, Edgar Hobson, and Eman Lacaba, both graduates of this university, and countless other young Filipinos gave their lives fighting for our freedoms and liberties. In April 2021, at the height of the first COVID-19 lockdown in our country, Ana Patricia Non, 26, set up a community pantry in Maginhawa Street, Quezon City, to provide food for free to the hungry. Her act of kindness spread throughout the country, prompting many others to do the same, despite threats and even red tagging by those in government. And just a few months ago, you stepped up again. In the cacophony of the campaign leading up to the elections, young Filipinos and many health professionals spearheaded a movement of volunteerism unheard of in previous electoral exercises. My study of history, as well as my own experiences since the martial law period up to the present, have convinced me of the truth of what my father said in a letter he wrote from prison to my brother during the dictatorship. Our entire history as a people, he said, has been a quest for freedom and dignity, and we will not be denied our dreams. The Filipino health professionals have always been part of this quest for freedom and dignity. Jose Rizal was not the only physician who spoke the truth to Spain. Mariano Ponce, who studied medicine at the University of Santo Tomas and finished his degree at the Universidad Central de Madrid, was one of the leaders of the propaganda movement and the founder of La Solidaridad. At the age of 23, Dr. Pio Valenzuela joined the Katipunan and became a major figure in the Philippine Revolution. During the Japanese occupation, Dr. Bonifacio Lopez Mencias, the Dean of the UST College of Medicine, actively supported the Filipino guerrilla soldiers. For that, he was captured and presumably killed just before the liberation of Manila. After obtaining her master's degree in bacteriology from Boston University School of Medicine and completing a 2-year research fellowship at Harvard Medical School's Children's Hospital in 1941, Dr. Fe Del Mundo returned to the Philippines, and during the early years of the Japanese occupation, opened a hospice center for mothers and children at an internment camp. Dr. Del Mundo could have stayed in the United States and would probably have enjoyed a rewarding and prosperous career there. Instead, she chose to return to our country and has been quoted as saying, "I told the Americans who wanted me to stay that I prefer to go home and help the children. I know that with my training for 5 years at Harvard and different medical institutions in Manila, I can do much." And she did. Dr. Fidel Mundo had a long and storied career and contributed so much, not only to the Filipino medical profession, but to all our people. In 1941, at the age of 31, Captain Jose P. Javier, MD, served as the executive officer of the 21st Medical Battalion of the USAFFE. He was caught by the Japanese forces, survived the Bataan Death March, endured detention as a prisoner of war in Tarlac, and in 1944, not content with what he had done, he joined the guerrilla movement as a regimental surgeon. During the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos, Dr. Remberto Bobby de la Paz and his wife, Dr. Silvia de la Paz, worked as doctors in the rural towns of Samar. In 1982, Dr. Bobby was killed at his clinic in Catbalogan City. Dr. Juan Johnny Escandor was the chief resident of the radiology department of UPPGH and headed the research department of the Cancer Institute of the Philippines. He gave up these positions to serve in the rural areas of Cagayan Valley and was killed in what was reported as an encounter with constabulary troops in Quezon City. Most of you have probably heard of the organization I belong to, the Free Legal Assistance Group, but perhaps not many have heard of its medical counterpart, the Medical Action Group. Kung may flag po noong panahon ng diktadurya, meron din kaming kasamang MAG. The Medical Action Group was established in 1982, and I quote, to provide medical aid to victims of political repression and their families, and to assist FLAG in documenting cases of torture among political prisoners. MAG was founded by Dr. Mita Pardo de Tavera, Dr. Jaime Zamuco, Dr. Willie Lopez, Dr. Porfirio Resio, Dr. Benjamin Aquino Sr., Dr. Erlinda Centurias, Dr. Alicia de la Paz, retired Supreme Court Justice J.B.L. Reyes, and my father, Jose W. Diokno. To this day, the Medical Action Group continues to deliver health services to victims of human rights violations and to fulfill its mission of promoting justice in health and upholding human rights. And of course, we must pay homage to the many doctors, nurses, and health workers who fought and continue to fight at the front lines in the battle against COVID-19. Many got sick with COVID-19 themselves, and some died bravely in the line of duty. Dr. Greg Makasaet, one of our country's finest anesthesiologists, treated COVID-19 patients until he himself became afflicted with the virus. His wife, Evelyn, also an anesthesiologist, was likewise infected with the virus, while both of them tirelessly attended to COVID-19 patients in the emergency room. Dr. Greg Makasaet sacrificed his life in the service of patients. Another, Dr. Marcelo Hauchico, also lost his life to this disease while serving as the provincial health officer of Pampanga. Our medical frontliners, that includes all of you, are a testament to the commitment of the women and men in your profession to save life and uphold the dignity of the human person. The medical profession is, no doubt, one of service, and for doctors in private practice in major cities, a comfortable profession. But there is one other aspect of your profession I would like to invite you to think about, and that is your power over the lives of individuals and the impact of your actions on the lives of their loved ones as well. Your power as doctors is not the same as the power of politicians or the force of armies, but your authority is tremendous nonetheless, whether by the sheer stroke of your hands or the simple expression of a medical opinion. I don't suppose you have ever thought of yourselves as being powerful as doctors, rich perhaps and serving others probably. Yet, health professionals influence life and death in a way that no other profession can. Certainly, other professions, including mine as a lawyer and educator, have a similar aim to improve the quality of life and enable others to live meaningfully and well. But no other profession can claim to uphold the quality of life the way you do. You will come face to face with the best and the worst of the human condition, and under both circumstances, you will be expected to perform equally well. I know this is not easy, especially when the prospect of immobility or death lurks dangerously around the corner. But precisely because the stakes in your profession are so high, for what can be higher than human life? The practice of medicine requires the deepest, most abiding sense of humanity. Our country needs doctors whose authority stems from scientific knowledge and ability, and who are able to temper that authority with compassion. A merely skilled doctor will not suffice. Otherwise, the robot of the future would do just as well. And the worst type of doctor would be one who combines knowledge and skill with ego rather than with compassion. As professional ego ascends, the value of the patient declines. I ask you to think again and again of your nation and of our people, for there is no point in developing a sense of humanity that connects you only to individual patients and to groups of people, but not to communities and to our nation. The sense of belonging to a collective larger than ourselves, our families, our immediate circles of friends and colleagues, is fundamental to our humanity. The most significant human successes have been those born out of collective action. What meaning would personal success have if all around you people live as less than human beings? Indeed, what kind of humanity is it that selects the individuals it can relate to and deliberately disregards the humanness of others? As physicians, you will be looked up to in your communities. Since one of our biggest challenges in the years to come is disinformation, perhaps you could make use of your position to help your patients and others discern what is true and what is not. Please do not misunderstand me. I am not asking you to get involved in politics, though some of you may do so. Truth, for me, goes beyond politics. Truth, to quote once again from my father, is the power of the powerless. And anything you can do to promote the truth will go a long way in the fight against disinformation and in empowering the marginalized. Live true to your calling and enjoy your ability to heal others and help improve lives. Congratulations, of course, to the parents and loved ones of Batch 2020 who supported you in your long journey through grade school, high school, college, med school, and your journey today. They deserve your hugs and your love. Thank your professors who mentored you and your patients who taught you lessons that went beyond classroom learning. And of course, congratulations and a big hug to each one of you. As you embark in your journey as health professionals and fulfill your dreams, I ask you to help our brothers and sisters in the larger Filipino family to make their dreams come true as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Chel Jokno. As a sign of our gratitude and appreciation to Attorney Chel Jokno, Father Roberto C. Yap, President of the Ateneo de Manila University, will present the plaque of appreciation and the replica of the Sacred Heart statue that was carved by Dr. Jose Rizal while he was a student at the Ateneo de Municipal. The original statuette carved by Dr. Jose Rizal is currently being kept at the university archives. In the year 2015, the ASMPH class of 2020 formally began their first academic year with a symbolic ritual. Today, as the class of 2020 officially ends their stay in the ASMPH, the ritual of the bell will once again be done to symbolize the commitment of our graduating class to be the best of who they are meant to be as physician leaders.
Who rings the bell?
I, Dr. Chelsea Colleen Gatchalian Paris, on behalf of the class of 2020,
What do you seek?
to recommit ourselves and to continue awakening our spirits, always giving the best of ourselves through hard work, and to always be health professionals for others, devoting our lives and abilities in the service of all those suffering in body and spirit.
Welcome, class of 2020. Come and receive the fruits of your 5-year journey of training and formation. May you always strive to be other-centered and to use all your God-given abilities and talents in loving service and dedication.
Since the graduates of batch 2020 were conferred their double degrees of Doctor of Medicine and Master in Business Administration in 2020, we will now proceed to the presentation of the graduates. The Ateneo Graduate School of Business and Dean Zenon Alfonso of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health will now read the names of the graduates.
Let those who have been granted the double degrees of Doctor of Medicine and Master in Business Administration come forward so that the deans of the School of Medicine and Public Health and the Graduate School of Business and the university president may recognize you. Chelsea Colleen Gatchalian Paris, valedictorian. Isabella Cosette Tanwakyo Agustin. Luis Lorenzo Mendoza Alcantara. Joel Manuel Paliagud Alejandro. James Paul Sison Angeles. Alberto Enriquez Antonio Jr. Zenas Harvey Laluño Apal. Ann K. Colleen Vestal Arangcon. Luis K. Gacuño Arandia. Patricia Ana Vic Haplos Arcega. Portia Heidi Mendoza Balte. John Kera Dizon Banaag. Maria Angela Cristina Nazario Bakiran. Joseph Emmanuel Toribio Barcelon. Joseph Angelo Nasala Benitez. Ana Sofia Arellano Besa. Nina Patricia Halili Bolon. Edmar Lolo Borigas. Yvette Cristel Atutubo Brutas. Don Angelo Padilla Buena. Ramon Andres Cahucom. Fides Miles Carrion Kaliwag. Nicolas Agustin Chua Cancio. Monique Antoinette San Victores Carrion. Caressa Yana Castro. Michael Angelo Bordador Celeste. Joe Marie Corrales Chan. Mary Jasmine Pio Roda Chong. Sarang Choi. Hannah Isabel Liao Chua. Kyrell Ann Yu Chua. Sed Matthew Sisyong Ko. Andrea Ansaldo Cooper. Crystal Tan Cotingting. Daniel J.T. Cruz. Earl Nathaniel Paz Cruz. Marco Daniele. Beatriz K. de la Cruz Datu. Jerome Diel David. Giselle Francesca de Guzman de Jesus. Riza Bianca Cruz de Jesus. Juan Anton Daico de los Reyes. Kevin Kenji Cody. Christine Milby Ferrer del Prado. Michelle Ann Jimenez de la Cuesta. Cristina Mariel Padilla de la Paz. Sofia Margaret Willion de Rada. Eloise Mariel Escalderon Dial. Noel Patrick Gumban Dolon. Pamela Denise Vitaliano Elefante. Benjo Chano Empedrado. Angelica Pilar Ermino. Monica Eloisa Dancel Ernie. Adeline Joy Fajota Espiritu. Margaret Nicdao Estanco. Raymark Nido Felizardo. Marian Rose Natividad Ferrer. Maria Claudine Bernadette Arizapa Flores. Monica Giselle Bejarano Fortes. Mark Benjamin Madlang Franco. Janelle Reyes Gagalonia. Dexter Acosta Galban. Rafael Antonio Emmanuel Silva Garcia. Karima Danica Lising Gayo. Erwin Gerard Buruganan Garon. Heron. Herschel Don Dunca Go. Maria Angela Teresa Sison Go. Alessandra Sofia Babao Gobalia. Maria Selina Legaspi Guillermo. Eliza Jane De Leon Gutierrez. Patricia Louise Alquino Henson. Sarah Reem De Leon Hashan Mohamed Hagag. Jerica Margarita Gales Ibanez. Ann Mira Nika Agabao Idian. Noe Michael Obedencio Inson.
Andrew Onglatco Hardeleza. Abigail Christine Santos Juat. Megan Ashley Remigoso Giovanni. Bianca Isabel Aldana Laksamana. Peregrin Bolando Lagarteja. Princess Chong Lapid. Luke Osler Ematong Lazatin. Jethro Toledo Lee. Francis Harvey Albano Liboon. Cherise Andrea Espinas Llaneta. Charmaine Louise Yap Lozada. Patrick Nicolo Marie Giao Lozano. Tom Joshua Du Lumapas. Jose Leandro Yuzon Magno. Joan Paula Buensuseco Manalo. Robin Edsel Sebastian Seno Medalye. Manuel Vacaro Mendoza Jr. Rafael Emmanuel Bueno Mendoza. Leslie Allison Abelia Morin. Mark Vincent de la Cruz Mumar. Ariana Daniel Mar Nano. Catherine Joy Milavo Nerva. Nico Mendez Olermo. Elaika May Lopez Ordonez. Maria Carmela Benjamin Pablo. Rexel Flores Piat. Patricia Helen Manansala Pilapil. Pauline Luz Salvador Pine. Natania Mercado Pineda. James Martin Sisipkwa. Congratulations. Janine Giselle Abigan Ke. Romela Angeli Garcia Kiampang. Paula Patricia Villacorta Kidlat. Ellen May Celestial Kion. Janine Bianca Marie Melgar Rafael. Juriel Cristan Fonte Ramirez. Aren David Ramos. Congratulations. Veronica Joyce Lopez Raimundo. Dana Landicho Regala. Zarina Christine Villastiki Reyes. Dean Patrick Eugene Garcia Reyes. Janine Patricia Herona Robredo. Maria Villa Jusil Mamaril Roderos. Jomar Nico Rodriguez. Marian Luisa Abad Roque. Zara Michelle Basaka Salazar. Daniela Luis Santa Maria Santiago. Rosette Thea Nicolas Santos. Manilyn Calderon Sapilan. Jevin Andrew Alvarez Sarmiento. Janric Nicole Ong Si. Lance Vincent Caburian Sese. Alexa Cristina Dumalagan Shenes. Maria Patricia Camila Vasquez Silva. Maria Regina Andrea Jaime Season. Chantal Marie Sapaden C. Maikea Elijah Teisa Tagibulos. Marian Catarina Visera Talino. Veronica Rubio Talia. Beatrice Eliza Apostol Tan. Clinton Chi Tang. Gabriel Avellana Tangco. Anika Ray Tolentino Taenyo. Cristel May Leoncio Texon. Cher Marie Mercado Tuason. Matthew Derek Lim Uy. Angela Natasha Cabildo Valdepeñas. Keenan Matthew Porras Veneracion. Carlo Ray Villaluz Villacastin. Norman Ray Tablan Villarete. Francine Rossi Turayangson. Patricia Daniel de Guzman Yap. And John Joseph Vergara Zapanta.
Let us give the class of 2020 a round of applause. Mga mahal na panauhin, mga magulang, at mga kaibigan, bilang angkop na bahagi ng palatuntunan, manunumpa ang mga nagtapos at muling ihahandog ang sarili sa mithiin ng kahusayan, paglilingkod, at pagiging atenistang manggagamot para sa kapwa. Si Dr. Joseph Emmanuel P. Siatan, valedictorian ng Class 2017, ang mangunguna sa panunumpa. Mangyaring tumayo ang mga nagtapos, buksan ang inyong programa sa pahina ng panunumpang atenistang manggagamot para sa kapwa at sumabay kay Dr. Siatan na bigkasin ang panunumpa. Ito ay susundan ng panunumpang Atenista batay sa paglilingkod sa kapwa na pamumunuan ni Ginoong Gaudencio S. Hernandez Jr. ng Ateneo Alumni Association.
Itaas ang kanang kamay at sabay-sabay nating bigkasin. Sa araw na ito, tinatanggap namin na may kababaang loob ang pagpapatibay sa piling ninyo, aming mga magulang, kaanak at kaibigan, mga guro, mentor, tagapangasiwa at kamag-aral, amin ding pinagtitibay ang panunumpa na maging Lux in Domino, liwanag ng Panginoon, sa aming bayan at sa aming kapwa. Saksi kayo sa liming naming pagpapakalulubhasa sa likod ng mga tagumpay at hinigpis na aming pinagdaanan. Tulungan ninyo kaming laging sariwain na ito ay biyayang tanggap sa Panginoon. Bilang pagtugon sa kanyang pag-ibig, saksihan din ninyo sa araw na ito ang aming pagtatalaga na maging magagamot para sa kapwa. Sumusumpa kami na maging mahusay na manggagamot, maalam, tapat, at marangal upang ang mga may sakit ay mapatawan ng lunas. Sumusumpa kami na maging masinsing pinuno at tagapangasiwa, maliksi, mapanuri, at malikhain upang ang sistemang pangkalusugan ng aming gagalawan ay makatugon sa mga suliranin ng mga mamamayan. Sumusumpa kami na maging binhi ng pagbabago sa lipunan upang ang mga nagdarahop at kapuspalad, ang mga mahirap at nangangailangan ay makadama ng katiwasayan sa katawan at kaluluwa. Panginoon, bigyan mo kami ng lakas na maisagawa ito.
Ako po muna ang mamumuno sa panunumpa ng ating mga graduates ngayong hapon na ito. Muli, itaas ang ating kanang kamay at sabay-sabay nating bigkasin. Sa araw na ito ng aming pagtatapos, kamag-anak at kaibigan, sa piling ng aming mga kamag-aral, guro at tagapangasiwa ng pamantasan, sa piling ng mga alumni at bilang alumni at alumni ng Ateneo, nakatalagang maging Lux in Domino, liwanag sa Panginoon. Sumusumpa kaming maging tao para sa kapwa at hayaang magningning ang aming liwanag sa lahat, lalo na sa mga nagdarahop ang katawan at kaluluwa. Sumusumpa kami na maging bukas palad sa mga handog ng isip at katawan na dulot ng Diyos sa amin, sa pagmamahal ng aming pamilya, kapwa-tao, bayan at ng aming Diyos. Panginoon, turuan mo kami maging bukas palad.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph Emmanuel Siatan, Mr. Gaudencio Hernandez Jr., and Dr. Lourdes Bernadette Tanchanco. Friends, dear graduates, you may be seated. Friends, the President of the Ateneo de Manila University, Father Roberto C. Yap, S.J.
Dr. John Paul Vergara, Dr. Maria Luz Vilches, Dr. Dodi Alfonso, Dr. Jet Magsaysay, Attorney Chel Diokno, VP Lenny Robredo, members of the ASMPH community, especially the class of 2020, colleagues, families, and friends. Good afternoon. First of all, allow me to give my warmest congratulations to the graduates of the dual degree program of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health and express my joy and gratitude that we are finally able to celebrate together this important milestone in your life. The COVID-19 pandemic of the past 2 years showed us just how crucial your chosen profession is to our country. The insufficiency of healthcare facilities, scarcity of both material and human resources, lack of management skills and systematic thinking among some health administrators, and unequal access to health services are just a few of the many problems which the Philippines' healthcare system has long suffered from. The pandemic exacerbated these and exposed to everyone painfully and undeniably the inefficiencies of our underfunded and neglected public healthcare system, as well as the lack of compassion among some of those in authority for the plight and well-being of the poorest of our people. From its inception, the ASMPH has been committed to addressing these issues through the education and formation of doctors who not only have the clinical skills to care for individual patients, but also have the systemic mindset to effect and manage structural solutions to address health and social problems. I am sure that many of you suffered through heartbreaking losses during the pandemic, but you are here now, which is a testament to your strength and resilience, as well as the loving support of your family and community of friends. Hopefully, your experience of living through one of the worst crises we have ever faced has given you a better appreciation of the ASMPH's mission of healing lives and transforming society. As you begin the next phase of your profession, we in the Ateneo de Manila hope that you will embrace this mission as your own. Heal bodies and heal people's lives. Transform our healthcare system and transform society. And because healing and transformation always begins with the self, I send you off to the world with a final blessing. My dear ASMPH graduates class of 2020, please rise. Please bow your heads and pray for God's blessing. May you always heal and be healed. May those who come to you find in you one who cares deeply, whose knowledge includes knowledge of the Spirit's movements. May you take pride in your gifts and use them humbly. May the suffering and the vulnerable be your teachers. May you see in others the goodness of a tender God. May compassion encircle you, carry you, strengthen you, and give you insight. May your presence be hope to those in pain. May your skill ease the way and instill trust. May you know the healer of all. May your own heart be held in the compassion and tenderness of God. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he look upon you with kindness and give you his peace. Amen. Amen. Congratulations, ASMPH class of 2020. Mabuhay.
Thank you, Father Bobby Yap. As we bring to a close the 9th commencement exercises of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, we thank you for being with us today. After the singing of the Ateneo hymn, we request everyone to please remain in their seats until the stage party has left the stage. After the recessional, the class of 2020 is requested to prepare for the class photo, with the university president, the commencement speaker, the vice presidents, the dean, the associate dean, and the APS registrar. May I now invite all the graduates, the faculty, the stage party, and guests to please rise for the singing of the Ateneo hymn, to be led by Dr. Patricia Ana Vic Arcega.
We see the earth and sky, how all is still, where Ayala's colors fly. Our course is run, and the set is done, and Ateneo stay. Eyes are dry at the last goodbye. This is the Ateneo way. And before you, for more light and blue, we pray keep us very constantly true. We pray keep us very faithful to you. Down from the hill, down to the world go high. Remember still how the bright blue eagle sky. Through joyous gifts, through the laughing years, we sing our battle song. Win or lose, it's the school we choose. This is the place where we belong. Ready for new, for more white and blue. We pray keep us very constantly true. We pray keep us very faithful to you.
We will now have our batch picture taking. May we request everyone to please take your seats. Our photographers will now stay in the middle. Okay. Coming. Wait.